Welcome to Starbound Valor HFY. Subscribe now and dive into daily epic sci-fi adventures where humanity always rises. Commander Rian stood inside the Deep Space Listening Station, staring at the strange signal blinking across the main screen. For hours the station had been shaking with soft vibrations, like something huge was moving through the dark beyond human vision. Rian felt a cold fear crawling inside his chest, something he had never felt in all his years of service. He watched the signal grow stronger, brighter, almost alive. Suddenly the message formed into sound, a deep mechanical voice echoing through the room. Humanity, step back. Danger ahead. Everyone froze. Technicians stared at each other, unsure if they were hearing a warning or some kind of alien trick. Rian leaned forward, trying to understand every word. If you continue on this path, destruction will follow, the voice continued. The room fell silent. For a moment, even the machine seemed afraid to make noise. Rian knew the voice did not belong to any known species near Earth. It was older, sharper, like the sound of metal being dragged across stone. And the message was not random. It felt directed at humanity alone. Within minutes, the message reached Earth. Leaders from the United Human Council gathered for an emergency meeting. Many laughed at the warning, calling it a glitch, a joke, or a mistake from the Galaxy Council. Another threat? Another rule from them? We are not children, one politician said with a proud smile. Humanity does not bow to warnings, another added. They remembered the Galaxy Council always trying to limit Earth's growth, telling humans how to explore and how far they could travel. Many believed this new warning was the same kind of fear tactic. They thought the Council just wanted to control humanity again. But Rian did not agree. He looked at the data, strange energy waves, unknown ship signatures near the edge of the solar system, a pattern of silence coming from nearby human colonies. Something was wrong, deeply wrong, and he could feel it. When he spoke to the human leaders, they ignored him completely. We already have peace across the galaxy. Nothing threatens us, they said proudly. Focus on your station, Commander. Leave the politics to us. Rian left the meeting feeling frustrated and powerless. He walked through the halls of the council building, watching people laugh and talk like nothing was happening. He wondered how humans could be so calm when the universe was trying to warn them. That night, Rian returned to his station and replayed the message again and again. Each time, he heard a hidden tone beneath the main warning, a sound that hinted at fear, panic, and something approaching. Suddenly, the message repeated on its own, louder this time, the voice shaking the metal walls. Humanity, listen. The Zark Dominion is coming. Rian's heart dropped. He had heard that name only in old stories, whispered legends about a violent and powerful species that once burned entire star systems. Most people believed the Zark were extinct. The Council had erased almost every record about them centuries ago. Rian wondered why. Why hide such a dangerous truth? The next morning, he went through the station archives, searching for anything about the Zark Dominion. Files were locked. Records were deleted. Many were marked as restricted by Galaxy Council order. It only made Rian more suspicious. If the Zark were gone forever, why hide their history? Why fear a dead enemy? Hours turned into a long night of digging through forgotten storage data. Finally, Rian found a small corrupted file showing a broken image, a massive alien warship, shaped like a blade, cutting through a burning planet. The file ended with one sentence: do not engage the Zark Dominion without full human force. Rian felt a chill run down his spine. Humanity once needed full human force? What kind of enemy required that? Why was this warning buried so deep? Rian tried again to alert Earth's leaders, but no one listened. The Council said nothing. The governments remained quiet. People on Earth lived their lives, unaware that something dangerous was approaching from the cold darkness of space. Days passed. The signal grew stronger. The voice grew louder, almost desperate. Rian could feel the tension inside the station. Soldiers stood ready, scientists whispered theories, and everyone avoided looking out the window toward the stars. It was as if they all sensed something watching them. Then, without warning, the message changed. For the first time, it contained fear. Real fear. Humanity, the voice said shakily, you must listen now. If you do not stop, millions will die. Rian's breath caught in his throat. The Galaxy Council was not warning humans for control or power. They were afraid. Terribly afraid. And if the Galaxy Council, one of the oldest and most powerful organizations in the galaxy, was afraid, then something unimaginable was coming. Rian looked at the glowing stars through the station window. The universe felt suddenly darker, heavier, like a storm was rising in the void. Humanity thought they were safe. They thought no one could challenge them. But they were wrong. They had ignored the warning. And soon, they would pay the price. Rian whispered to himself, why won't they listen? But the only answer was the cold silence of space, followed by the message repeating one final time, louder than ever, this is your last warning. Commander Rian stood at the main deck window of the listening station, staring into the darkness of space, waiting for something he could not describe but felt deep in his bones. The warning from the Galaxy Council kept echoing through his mind like a shadow he could not escape. The Zark Dominion is coming. Those words refused to leave him, even when the rest of humanity continued to ignore the danger. Rian reviewed every strange report from the past week, missing signals from colonies, broken communication lines, and sudden bursts of energy near the edge of the solar system. None of it was normal. Something was approaching, and it was getting closer every hour. The next morning, Rian's worst fear came true. A new alarm sounded across the station, a sharp metallic scream that sent chills through everyone. Technicians rushed to their screens. Soldiers grabbed their weapons, unsure of what they were preparing for. Rian ran to the command console. What happened? He demanded. A young officer turned to him, face pale and voice shaking. Sir, something just appeared near Jupiter. Rian leaned forward. On the large central screen, a huge dark shape hovered beside the gas giant. At first it looked like a shadow from the planet, but then it moved, slow, heavy, and alive. Is it a ship? Someone whispered. But calling it a ship felt wrong. It was too big, too unnatural. The vessel was long like a blade and covered in glowing red lines that pulsed like veins. It looked as if the metal itself was breathing. Everyone in the station fell silent as the thing turned, revealing rows of bright crimson lights that looked like eyes. Rian's heart sank. He had seen something similar in the old Forbidden File, the same blade-shaped design. The same red glow. The Zark Dominion had arrived. Rian immediately ordered Earth Command to send a scouting fleet, hoping to confirm what they were facing. Within minutes, 4 human ships launched from the nearest base, flying toward Jupiter in a tight formation. The entire station watched in silence as the small ships approached the massive alien vessel. Open a communication channel, Rian said. Try to make contact. The communication officer tried, again and again, but there was no answer. No signal. No sound. Only the cold silence of space. Suddenly, the alien ship moved. A glowing circle opened under its hull, swirling with red and black energy. Before anyone could react, a beam shot out, thin, silent, and bright like a needle of burning light. It touched the first human ship. The ship vanished instantly. Not exploded. Not destroyed. It simply disappeared, erased from existence. Screams echoed through the station. Someone whispered, "What kind of weapon is that?" Rian felt his chest tighten. "Pull the fleet back," he shouted. But it was too late. The beam fired again. And again. Within seconds, all 4 ships were gone. No debris. No survivors. Just empty space where proud human vessels once flew. Earth Command panicked. Humanity had never seen a weapon like this. Even the Galaxy Council didn't have technology that could erase ships so easily. Rian stared at the screen, fists clenched, anger rising in his chest. "We should have listened," he whispered. But the nightmare wasn't over. A sudden message flashed on the screen, coming from the alien ship. Not words. A symbol. A three-clawed mark dripping with red energy. Rian recognized it instantly. The symbol of the Zark Dominion. The same mark the Galaxy Council had erased from human history centuries ago. The symbol pulsed brighter, then disappeared. Rian turned to the officers. Send this to Earth immediately. They must understand now. But Earth Command was already in chaos. Some leaders blamed the Galaxy Council. Others claimed the alien ship was only testing humanity. Many still refused to believe the Zark had returned. They argued while people died. Meanwhile, Rian stayed focused. He gathered every bit of data the station recorded, the strange energy signature, the weapon patterns, the size and shape of the vessel. The information was terrifying. The ship hovering near Jupiter was not even a battleship. It was only a scout, one of the smallest ships in the Zark fleet. Rian felt the blood drain from his face. If a small scout could erase human ships in seconds, what would the main Zark fleet do? Later that night, a second message arrived, but this time, not from the alien ship. It came from a nearby human colony. The voice was filled with static, fear, and explosions in the background. This is Colony Vega 12, Zark forces are here. The message cut off with a scream. Then silence. Rian's heart twisted. Another colony had fallen. No ships were sent to help them. No warning reached them in time. Humanity was not ready for this war. In the darkness of the station, Rian felt something change inside him. Fear was replaced with determination. If the Galaxy Council would not help, if Earth leaders refused to accept the truth, then humanity was unprotected. And Rian knew one thing with absolute certainty: the Zark Dominion was not here to negotiate. Not here to threaten. They had come to finish what they started centuries ago. The first contact had been made. And it was a message written in destruction. The real war had just begun. Commander Rian sat alone in the silent data chamber of the listening station, the only light coming from the soft blue glow of the old archive screens. His eyes were tired, but his mind refused to rest. After watching the Zark ship erase 4 human vessels like dust, he knew there had to be more, something hidden, something humanity had forgotten or been forced to forget. Rian typed command after command, trying to break into the restricted archives that the Galaxy Council had locked centuries ago. Most files were blocked, deleted, or corrupted. But Rian kept going, driven by a feeling he could not shake, a feeling that humanity's past was connected to the danger they were facing now. Hours passed. The station outside bustled with soldiers and technicians preparing for a threat they still did not understand. But inside the chamber, only the sound of the old machines filled the air, clicking and humming like they were whispering secrets. Finally, a small hidden folder appeared on the screen. Its title was strange and simple: Human War Project, Class Omega. Rian's heart sped up. He opened the file. At first, only blurry images appeared. A burning star. A broken space station. Giant alien ships shaped like blades. Then the screen shifted, and a video loaded. It was old, so old that the colors were faded and the voices were cracked. Rian leaned closer. The video showed a battlefield in space filled with fire and destruction. Human ships, bigger, stronger, more advanced than anything used today, were fighting the Zark Dominion. Rian watched in shock as human weapons tore through Zark ships with power far beyond modern technology. Humanity was not weak in the past. Humanity was terrifying. In the next part of the video, a group of old human leaders spoke. Their faces were serious, almost afraid. One of them said, "The Zark will return one day. If humanity is not ready, the galaxy will fall." Another added, "We must seal this knowledge. The Galaxy Council demands it." Rian froze. The Galaxy Council had forced humans to erase their own history. But why? Why hide humanity's greatest war? Why hide the fact that humans were once powerful enough to defeat the Zark? As he dug deeper, Rian found written reports describing Project Titan, a secret human program that created advanced soldiers, ships, and weapons, technology that no longer existed. There were mentions of nanotech armor, gravity weapons, and star-burning cannons. But the strangest part was a line repeated in several documents: humanity was once a superpower feared across 500 systems. Rian couldn't believe it. Humans today were considered young, inexperienced, still growing. But in the past, they were something else, something mighty. Something the galaxy feared. Suddenly, Rian understood why the Galaxy Council always tried to limit human expansion, why they never allowed Earth to build larger fleets, why they warned humans not to explore too far. It wasn't because humans were weak. It was because humans were once too strong. And the Council feared the return of that strength. Rian felt anger rise inside him. Humanity had been kept small, kept controlled, kept blind to its own history, all because the Council believed humans were dangerous. But now the real danger was back, the Zark Dominion, and humanity was unprepared because the truth had been buried. Rian continued reading until he found the darkest part of the archive, a final note from an ancient human commander written over 700 years ago. The message said, if the Zark return, they will not come for resources or slaves. They will come for revenge. And they will not stop until humanity is erased from existence. Rian leaned back in his chair, struggling to breathe. The Zark were not attacking randomly. They were not sending warnings. They were coming to finish an old war that humanity didn't even remember. Rian stood up and left the chamber, his mind racing. He walked quickly through the station halls until he reached the main command room. Officers looked up as he entered, surprised to see the fire in his eyes. I need a secure channel to Earth Command, he said. I have information they must hear. But Earth Command did not want to listen. They brushed him aside again, claiming his theories were based on old myths, not real evidence. Rian slammed his hand against the table. You idiots! Humanity fought the Zark before, and won. We were strong once. Powerful. The Galaxy Council forced us to forget. The room fell silent. Even the officers at the station stopped and stared at him. But Earth Command responded coldly, Commander Rian, you are overstepping your position. Report only confirmed events, not fantasies. The connection ended. Rian felt a deep frustration burn in his chest, but he refused to give up. He turned to his station officers. Listen to me. The Zark are not just enemies, they are the most dangerous force the galaxy has ever seen. And we defeated them once. If we want to survive, we must understand our past. The officers exchanged nervous looks. Some believed him. Some were afraid. But everyone felt the truth in his voice. Suddenly, an alarm exploded through the station, shaking the floors. A nearby human colony, the one closest to the Zark Scout, had gone completely silent. No signals. No life signs. No survivors. Rian stared at the dark screen showing the colony's last known image. The war has already started, he whispered. And we are fighting blind. The secrets of humanity's past were no longer just history. They were warnings. Warnings that no one had believed. Now, the cost of that ignorance was spreading across the stars. Commander Rian stood in the command center of the listening station, staring at the dark screen that showed the last known signal from the destroyed colony. The silence felt heavy, like the air itself was mourning the millions of lives that had vanished without a single chance to fight back. The station crew moved quietly around him, confused and frightened. Some whispered to each other, asking how an entire colony could disappear in minutes. Others simply refused to believe what they were seeing. But Rian knew the truth now. The Zark Dominion was attacking. Humanity had ignored the warnings, and now the price was being paid in blood and ash. Rian activated the emergency line to Earth Command and sent the archived files, the ancient video recordings, and the reports he had discovered. This time, the reaction was not silence. Within minutes, Earth Command called him back with panic in their voices. Commander Rian, is this real? He answered coldly, real enough that millions are dead. Earth finally understood. The old history, the forgotten war, the Zark threat, none of it could be denied anymore. The destruction of an entire colony was proof stronger than any words. Within hours, Earth declared a state of full planetary emergency, the first time in 200 years. People were rushed into shelters, fleets were ordered to return home, and every government leader was forced to accept the truth they had denied for weeks. Humanity was under attack. The Galaxy Council sent another message, but this time their tone was angry and desperate. Earth, we warned you. You should have retreated. You should have prepared. Earth's leaders responded with sharp words, blaming the Council for keeping humanity weak by hiding their true past. But the Council insisted that humans were too dangerous to remember their old power. The argument turned into shouting, accusations, and old grudges rising from both sides. Meanwhile, Rian tried to push through the chaos. Stop fighting, he shouted during a secure meeting. The Zark don't care about your politics. If we don't act now, Earth will fall like the others. His voice silenced the room. The Council and Earth leaders finally listened. Humanity would rebuild its defenses, no matter what rules the Council had created in the past. Rian was placed in charge of a new emergency program called Operation Sentinel, designed to search for old human technology, forgotten weapons, and ancient defense systems buried deep beneath Earth and hidden across the solar system. For the first time, Rian felt hope. Not because humanity was safe, but because humanity was finally waking up. The operation began immediately. Massive transports flew across Earth, retrieving old sealed crates from forgotten vaults. Engineers worked day and night to bring ancient machines back to life. Some were damaged beyond repair. Others were dangerous to even touch. But many still contained power humanity had never seen in modern times. Rian visited one of the vaults in person. Inside, he saw towering machines covered in dust, old human war armor with glowing blue lines, weapons that hummed like lightning, and strange devices that looked too advanced for their age. He reached out and touched one of the old Titan suits. It felt cold, heavy, and alive. Humans built this? He wondered. No wonder the Galaxy Council was afraid. Back on the station, officers worked non-stop. Some questioned the Council's intentions. Others questioned their own leaders. But all of them trusted Rian now. He was the only one who had taken the warning seriously from the start. As humanity prepared for war, something else began happening behind the scenes. A group of Council members secretly contacted the Zark Dominion and leaked information about Earth's defenses. They believed that helping the Zark weaken humanity would keep the Council in control of the galaxy. They betrayed their own allies. They betrayed Rian. And they betrayed the truth. Rian had no idea what they were planning. Not yet. He only knew that time was running out. Every hour more colonies were going dark. More signals were disappearing. More warnings were arriving from frightened travelers who barely escaped the edge of Zark territory. The fear was spreading like wildfire. And in the middle of all this, humanity stood alone. The Galaxy Council had refused to send help. They were too afraid of humans rising to power again. So it fell to Earth. It fell to Rian. To rebuild old strength. To awaken old technology. To prepare a defense strong enough to face an enemy that nearly destroyed the galaxy centuries ago. Just as Rian was organizing the next phase of Operation Sentinel, a new message arrived on the station screen. This time, it was not a warning. Not a symbol. Not silence. It was a voice deep, cold, and filled with hatred. The voice of Lord Kirax, the Zark war leader. Humans, he said, you were warned once before. You forgot. You hid. But we did not. We are coming. And when we arrive, there will be no mercy. The screen turned black. Rian felt a chill run down his spine. Humanity had broken the silence. The Zark had answered. And now the real storm was coming. The news of Lord Kirax's voice spread across Earth faster than any military order. People everywhere froze when they heard his cold, deep message. It felt like the voice of death itself, promising destruction with every word. Commander Rian watched the reaction from the listening station and felt time slipping away like sand through his fingers. Humanity was finally awake, but the enemy was already close. Just before dawn, the station's main alarm began to scream. Officers ran to their consoles, hands shaking, eyes wide with fear. Rian stormed into the command room. "Report," he shouted. A young officer stammered, "Sir, colonies Helios 3 and Dawn Reach are under attack." Rian's stomach twisted. Those colonies were only a few light hours away. "Put them on screen," he ordered. The display lit up, showing fire, chaos, and shadows moving across the colony skies. Zark ships, blade-shaped, glowing red, descended like falling stars. Their weapons tore through buildings, ships, and people. Human defenses fired back, but their lasers bounced off the Zark hulls as if they were nothing but soft wind. "Where's the colony fleet?" Rian demanded. "Destroyed," the officer whispered. Rian clenched his fists. Humanity's first real attempt to fight back had already failed. He watched helplessly as the Zark forces moved like an unstoppable river, swallowing everything. Screams echoed through the communication channels until one colony's signal went silent. And then the other. 2 human worlds, gone in less than an hour. Earth Command panicked. Leaders shouted, argued, blamed each other. Some begged the Galaxy Council for help. Others demanded immediate retaliation. The Galaxy Council responded coldly, "We warned you. We cannot fight the Zark. This is your war." It was the final betrayal. Humanity finally understood that they were truly alone. Rian took command of the station and contacted every fleet within range. "Prepare for immediate defense. The Zark will not stop with 2 colonies." Officers moved quickly, motivated by fear and anger. Humanity's small fleets gathered near the solar edge, forming a defensive line. But deep inside, Rian knew the truth: those fleets were not enough. The Zark were too powerful. Too fast. Too merciless. A sudden beep echoed through the room. "Incoming transmission," the communication officer said. "From Zark forces." The screen flickered, and the terrifying face of Lord Kirax appeared. His skin was rough like stone, his eyes burning red with ancient hatred. "Humans," he growled, "your first worlds have fallen. More will follow. You should have remembered us." Rian stepped forward. "Why are you attacking? Why now?" Kirax leaned closer to the screen, his voice dripping with cruelty. "Because your kind once humiliated the Zark Dominion. Because your ancestors were monsters who dared to stand against us. We have waited centuries for revenge." Rian felt a cold shiver run down his spine. The old human records had been right. This was not a new war. This was a vendetta older than modern history. Kirax continued, "We will burn every human world until none remain. Starting with your strongest colony." The transmission ended. A new alarm rang. "Sir," an officer said shakily, "the Zark fleet has changed course. They're heading for Colony Arcadia." Rian's blood turned cold. Arcadia was the pride of humanity, its largest, most advanced colony, home to millions. If it fell, morale across the galaxy would shatter. "Send everything we have," Rian ordered. "All fleets, all ships, all resources, now." Earth Command hesitated. "We cannot lose our home defenses," they argued. "Earth must be protected first." Rian slammed his fist onto the console. "If Arcadia falls, Earth will be next. We must stop them before they reach us." After a tense silence, Earth Command agreed. Every nearby fleet launched toward Arcadia, engines burning bright as they crossed the void. Rian joined the operation through long-range command, watching every ship position itself. It was the largest human fleet assembled in centuries. And yet, it still looked small compared to the Zark Armada. The battle began the moment the fleets met. Zark ships arrived like a storm, firing beams that sliced through human shields as if they were paper. Human ships fought with everything they had, missiles, laser cannons, old Titan tech newly restored, but the Zark kept pushing forward, unstoppable. Rian barked orders, guiding the fleet, trying to find weaknesses in the Zark formation. At one moment, humanity managed to destroy a small Zark fighter wing, and cheers erupted across the channels. But their hope died quickly. Larger Zark destroyers arrived, darkening the battlefield like floating mountains. One by one, human ships exploded into bright flashes. The screams of dying soldiers filled the comm lines until Rian was forced to mute them to stay focused. Meanwhile, Arcadia itself was collapsing. Buildings crumbled under Zark bombardments. Civilians ran for safety, but there was nowhere left to hide. Rian watched the destruction helplessly from the station, a deep rage building inside him. Humanity was losing. Humanity was suffering. Humanity was paying for a past they never knew. After almost 2 hours of brutal fighting, the final message came from Arcadia: "We can't hold, tell Earth we." The signal cut off forever. Arcadia was gone. The command room fell silent. Officers stared at the screens, some with tears in their eyes, others in stunned silence. Rian stepped back, feeling as if his heart had collapsed inside his chest. He knew what would come next. He knew what Kirax wanted. Earth. The Zark fleet turned. Their course was clear. Their message was clear. The war was advancing, colony by colony, system by system. Humanity's first worlds had fallen. And now, Earth was next. Commander Rian stood in the center of the command room, staring at the star map as the Zark fleet moved closer to Earth with slow, unstoppable confidence. The room felt colder than space itself. Officers whispered in fear, technicians worked with trembling hands, and every console displayed warnings. The fall of Arcadia had crushed the last bit of hope inside many soldiers. Some could barely speak. Some looked like they wanted to run. But Rian knew humanity had no place left to run. Earth was the last line. If they failed here, everything human would vanish forever. He cleared his throat and addressed the room. Everyone, listen. The Zark are coming, but we still have a chance. We will build the greatest defense line in human history. We are not fighting for one planet, we are fighting for our entire species. His voice shook slightly, but his determination filled the air. Slowly, people straightened up. They needed someone to believe in, and right now, that person was Rian. Earth Command sent every remaining ship to form a defensive ring around the solar system. Old warships from forgotten bases were reactivated, repaired, and armed. Civilian ships were converted into support vessels. Even Academy trainees were rushed into emergency combat roles. For the first time in centuries, all of humanity united for one purpose: survival. Yet Rian knew unity alone wouldn't win this war. They needed a miracle. The scientists from Titan Base sent a message: "Commander, we have unlocked more of the ancient tech. But we need time to finish it." Time, exactly what humanity did not have. The Zark fleet would reach the solar edge in less than 48 hours. Rian paced back and forth, trying to think of a strategy that could slow the enemy. The officers stared at him, waiting. Finally, he spoke: "We will create a trap. We will lure the Zark toward Jupiter's magnetic field. Its storms are powerful enough to disrupt their sensors. If we can blind them, even for a moment, we can strike with everything we have." The room buzzed with nervous energy. "Will it work?" someone asked. Rian replied honestly, "I don't know. But it is our best chance." Messages flew across the solar system. Fleets moved into position near Jupiter. The giant planet's swirling storms and lightning became part of humanity's final plan. Meanwhile, Earth prepared for impact. Cities built underground shelters. Families said emotional goodbyes. Children asked their parents why stars looked angry tonight as the atmosphere glowed from the approaching enemy signatures. Across the world, fear grew like a shadow. But in all that fear, something else grew too: strength. Humans had always been stubborn survivors. They had endured wars, disasters, and the darkness of space. And now they would face the Zark, even if it meant their last breath. When the first Zark scout ships entered the solar system, alarms exploded across the network. Rian watched their movement with sharp eyes. "Hold formation," he ordered. "Do not fire until they reach Jupiter's edge." But the Zark were not fools. They scanned the area carefully, sensing danger. Rian feared they would avoid the trap. Then something unexpected happened. The Zark turned toward Jupiter, exactly as planned. "They're taking the bait," an officer whispered. "Good," Rian said. "Prepare all ships." The largest wave of Zark destroyers followed, darkening the space around Jupiter like a moving shadow. When they crossed the magnetic line, their sensors flickered. Some ships drifted out of formation. Others slowed, confused by the interference. "Now!" Rian shouted. Human fleets fired all at once: missiles, ion cannons, railguns, plasma torpedoes. The sky near Jupiter lit up like a second sun. Some Zark ships were destroyed instantly, breaking apart into fiery fragments. The command room cheered, but their celebration lasted only seconds. Because the Zark adapted. Their ships reformed, their sensors recalibrated faster than expected, and within moments, the enemy was stable again. "They recovered too fast," an officer cried. The Zark retaliated. Their dark beams cut through the human fleets again, carving bright lines of destruction. Ships exploded one by one. The battle near Jupiter became a burning graveyard of metal and fire. Rian gritted his teeth, refusing to lose hope. "Redirect all remaining ships to defensive positions around Saturn. We must slow them down again." But deep inside, he knew humanity was running out of ships. Out of time. Out of miracles. A message flashed across his screen. "Titan base again. Commander, the ancient weapon is almost ready. But we still need a few more hours. Hold the Zark back." Rian exhaled shakily. A few more hours? Against an entire Zark armada? But he didn't argue. Instead, he turned to his fleet. "This is humanity's final stand before Earth. We hold the line here. No matter the cost." The fleets moved to Saturn, exhaustion and fear in every pilot's eyes. They knew they might not survive this battle. Yet no one retreated. Humanity fought like cornered lions, desperate, fierce, refusing to bow. When the Zark reached Saturn, the second battle began. It was even worse than the first. Human ships exploded like sparks. Saturn's rings shattered under violent blasts. Zark ships pressed forward, unstoppable. Rian watched the destruction with a heavy heart. The line was breaking. Humanity's strength was fading. But they still fought. Every second they held the Zark back meant another second for Titan base to finish their secret weapon. And in that chaos, Rian realized something important: this war was no longer about winning. It was about buying time. Time for one last hope. Time for one final chance to save Earth. The Zark moved closer. The human fleets fell one by one. And as the battle reached its darkest moment, a single message arrived from Titan base: "Commander, the weapon is ready." Commander Rian stared at the message from Titan base, his heart pounding. The weapon is ready. These 4 words were the only light inside the darkness swallowing the solar system. Outside the station windows, space burned with the wreckage of human ships falling one after another. The Zark armada pushed forward like a tide of metal monsters, unstoppable and cold. Earth was now only hours away from annihilation. Rian quickly opened a secure channel. "Titan base, respond. What is the weapon? How do we use it?" The scientist on the screen looked exhausted, his face pale and eyes red from days without sleep. "Commander, it's not just a weapon. It's something ancient. Something built by the first humans, thousands of years ago. They called it the Heart of Solaris." Rian frowned. What does it do? The scientist swallowed nervously. It can unleash energy strong enough to destroy an entire fleet, but there is a problem. The device needs someone to control it from the inside. It requires a direct neural link. A human mind must guide the energy or it will explode without direction. Rian felt the air leave his lungs. So, whoever activates it, the scientist nodded sadly. They won't survive. Silence filled the room. Officers looked at Rian, waiting for his decision. There was no time for debates or hesitation. The Zark were minutes away from breaking the last defensive line. Earth would fall. Humanity would be erased. Someone had to make the choice. Someone had to sacrifice everything. Rian closed his eyes for a moment, thinking of Arcadia, thinking of the millions who died, thinking of the future that would never come if humanity lost. When he opened his eyes again, they were sharp and calm. "Prepare my shuttle," he said. "I'm going to Titan Base." The officers reacted in shock. "Commander, no. You are the only one who can lead us. Let someone else do it." But Rian shook his head. "This war began because we ignored the warnings. I will not ignore this responsibility now." Within minutes, his shuttle launched into space, cutting through debris and fire as it sped toward Titan. The battlefield around Saturn was collapsing. Human ships desperately tried to slow the Zark, but they were hopelessly outnumbered. Every ship that fell bought a few more seconds. Seconds Rian needed. When he arrived at Titan Base, soldiers saluted him with tired, broken faces. They guided him deep underground, into a chamber filled with ancient machinery glowing with bright golden light. At the center floated a spherical device pulsing like a living heart, the heart of Solaris. It was huge, beautiful, and terrifying. Rian stepped forward. "How long until the Zark reach Earth?" A nearby officer replied, voice shaking, 27 minutes. Rian nodded. "Start the interface." Scientists connected cables and activated the machine. The glowing sphere opened like a flower, revealing a seat surrounded by swirling light. "Once you connect," the lead scientist warned, "your mind will merge with the weapon. You will see the entire battlefield at once. You will guide the blast. And when it's over, you won't come back." Rian gave him a small smile. "Humanity will." He took one last breath and stepped into the seat. The machine closed around him. Bright energy poured into his mind, showing him stars, ships, and the approaching Zark armada in perfect clarity. For a moment, he felt fear. Then he remembered the promise he made, to protect humanity no matter what. He whispered softly, "This is for Earth." Outside, the Zark reached Earth's final defense line. Their weapons charged, ready to burn the planet. Lord Kirax appeared on every human screen. "Humans, your end has come." But before he could finish, the stars behind the Zark fleet ignited with blinding golden light. A massive wave of energy burst from Titan, spreading across space like the sunrise of a new universe. At its center was Rian, guiding the heart with every last thought he had. The energy struck the Zark armada. Their shields shattered, their ships melted, their weapons went silent. One by one, the mighty vessels of the Dominion exploded in brilliant bursts of light. Lord Kirax screamed as his flagship was torn apart, his voice drowned in the storm of energy. The entire armada, thousands of warships, vanished within seconds. And then, silence. Pure, peaceful silence. On Earth, people cried, shouted, hugged each other, unable to believe they were still alive. In the Galaxy Council chambers, leaders watched the impossible happen. Humanity had done what no other species could. They had destroyed the Zark. But on Titan, the heart of Solaris dimmed. The golden light faded. The chamber doors opened slowly as scientists rushed inside. Rian's body sat motionless in the machine, eyes closed, face calm. He was gone, his mind burned away by the energy he used to save the world. A heavy silence fell over Titan Base. The commander who warned them, who fought for them, who never gave up, had given everything. Word spread across the solar system. People lit candles, whispered prayers, and honored the man who sacrificed himself so they could live. Humanity had survived. Because one man chose courage over fear. Because one man believed that warnings should never be ignored. Days later, a statue was built in Earth's central city. It showed Rian standing tall, looking toward the stars he died to protect. And at the bottom were engraved the words, "He believed the warning. He saved us all." Humanity entered a new age, united, stronger, wiser. And every year, on the day the Zark fell, people looked up at the sky and remembered the man who turned darkness into hope. Commander Rian, the final guardian of Earth. After the destruction of the Zark Armada, humanity thought the worst was over, but Commander Rian knew the danger was far from gone. Small Zark scout ships still lurked near the outer edges of the solar system, their red lights blinking like warning eyes in the darkness. Rian moved quickly through the command room of the newly rebuilt space station, his mind racing. "We cannot let our guard down," he said to the officers. "The Zark will return, and next time they will come with even greater force." Scientists and engineers nodded, working tirelessly to repair damaged fleets, improve human weaponry, and recover ancient Titan technology. Every piece of old tech they restored made humanity stronger, faster, and smarter. Rian watched over simulations of the new fleet formations, each designed to strike before the Zark could regroup. His team drilled day and night, practicing attack maneuvers, defensive formations, and ambush strategies. At first, some officers doubted the plans, remembering the fear and failure of the past battles. But Rian's determination was contagious. He led by example, training alongside pilots, studying enemy tactics, and analyzing every fragment of Zark strategy they had captured. Slowly, the human fleet transformed from a frightened group into a precise, powerful force ready for war. Rumors of Rian's leadership spread across colonies and space stations, inspiring civilians and soldiers alike. People began volunteering to join the military, repairing ships, and producing weapons at record speed. Entire industries shifted to support the war effort. Humanity was becoming a machine of survival, fueled by rage and determination. Then came the news from the outer systems. A small Zark fleet had been detected attempting to regroup near the destroyed moons of the former colonies. Rian immediately ordered a strike team to intercept them before they could repair or call for reinforcements. The fleet moved with speed and precision. For the first time, humans attacked before the enemy reached them, taking advantage of the element of surprise. The battle was fierce. Human ships fired with deadly accuracy, cutting through Zark's shields and destroying several ships before the aliens could even respond. The scouts tried to escape, but the humans pressed forward relentlessly. Commander Rian watched the battle unfold on the large display, a sense of satisfaction and anger mixing in his chest. Humanity had tasted power again, and they would not back down. During the engagement, a young pilot named Jorah distinguished herself by destroying 3 Zark ships in a single strike, her courage inspiring everyone watching. Rian smiled, knowing that the future of humanity depended on brave people like her. After the battle, the human fleet regrouped, repairing minor damage while keeping constant watch for any further Zark attacks. Scientists analyzed the destroyed ships and discovered new information about Zark technology, weak points, energy patterns, and attack sequences. Every bit of knowledge increased humanity's chances for survival. But Rian knew that knowledge alone was not enough. Humans had to become a force capable of facing the Zark head-on, without fear, without hesitation. He called a meeting with top commanders and scientists. "We must build our fleet larger than ever," he said. "We must awaken the full potential of our Titan technology and prepare for the final confrontation. The Zark will come again, stronger than before. We cannot wait." Plans were made to construct massive warships, arm them with ancient weapons, and train thousands of pilots in advanced combat maneuvers. Colonies across the galaxy sent materials, soldiers, and engineers. Humanity worked together as one, their fury burning brighter than any star. Meanwhile, intelligence reports indicated that Kirax himself was regrouping, assembling what remained of his forces in secret locations beyond the edge of the solar system. He had learned from his previous defeat, and Rian knew the next attack would be even more deadly. He studied old Zark battle strategies, combined them with human ingenuity, and prepared countermeasures designed to strike with devastating precision. The station hummed with energy as humans prepared for war, their spirits unbroken despite years of terror and destruction. Rian walked along the observation deck, looking out at the stars. He thought about the fallen colonies, the lives lost, and the sacrifices made. His mind was clear. Humanity had risen from fear, from defeat, and from destruction. They would fight back with everything they had. As the sun rose over Earth, colonies and fleets across the galaxy initiated final preparations. Ships loaded with advanced weapons left ports in perfect formation, each pilot ready to obey commands without question. Engineers worked tirelessly, repairing damaged systems and testing weapons that had lain dormant for centuries. Civilians assisted wherever they could, proving that the entire species was united in purpose. And in the command room, Rian stood tall, watching over the greatest force humanity had ever assembled. His eyes were focused, his hands steady. "The Zark may have underestimated us before," he said, voice steady. "But now, they will see the fury of humanity. They will know we are not weak. We are not afraid. And we will not be defeated." Outside, the stars shimmered like silent witnesses to the rise of a species ready to fight back, a species determined to survive, and a species that would make the galaxy remember the power of humanity. The Zark were returning. And this time, they would face the full, unstoppable force of human fury. The quiet before the storm felt heavier than any battle humanity had faced. Commander Rian stood on the command bridge of the flagship Aurora, looking out at the stars that hid the approaching Zark fleet. Scouts had reported movements beyond Pluto, but no one knew exactly how many ships Kirax had managed to rebuild. The tension in the room was palpable. Officers adjusted controls with trembling hands, pilots went over final checklists, and technicians double-checked weapons systems. Humanity had trained for this moment, prepared for the enemy, but fear lingered like a shadow in every heart. Rian walked along the bridge, speaking to every officer, every crew member. "We have faced the Zark before," he said, "and we survived. Today, we will show them what humanity truly is. We fight not only for Earth but for every world they have destroyed. Remember the colonies. Remember Arcadia. Remember those who sacrificed everything. We carry their courage with us." His words strengthened the resolve of everyone present. Outside, sensors finally picked up the Zark fleet. Hundreds of ships, massive destroyers with glowing red veins, spread across the void like a living storm. At the center, Kirax's flagship hovered, larger and more menacing than ever. The Zark had learned, adapted, and were ready to crush humanity once more. Rian's hands tightened around the railing. "All fleets, move to formation Delta Prime. Engage defensive grid immediately. Target the forward wave first." Ships fired, engines and weapons systems hummed, creating a web of light as humanity's last defensive line formed. The Zark advanced without hesitation, beams cutting through the darkness, slicing through decoys and minor defenses. Rian watched carefully, analyzing patterns, looking for weaknesses. He had studied the Zark, predicted their strategy, and planned countermeasures. This was humanity's chance to fight smarter, faster, stronger. The first exchange was brutal. Zark destroyers unleashed beams of energy that tore through human shields. Explosions lit the void like supernovae, and ships fell one after another. Rian's heart pounded, but he stayed focused. "Adjust the angles. Fire ion cannons on their left flank. Target weak points in the armor." His commands moved through the fleet like a heartbeat, keeping order amid chaos. Slowly, humanity's traps began to work. Zark ships drifted into zones of electromagnetic interference near Saturn, causing minor sensor malfunctions. Human torpedoes found their marks. One by one, smaller Zark destroyers exploded in bright flashes, giving the human fleet a glimmer of hope. But Kirax's flagship remained untouched, commanding the rest of the fleet with terrifying precision. Rian knew the battle would not be won by strength alone, it would be won by strategy and courage. Hours passed. The battle moved closer to Jupiter. Human losses were heavy, but the Zark were suffering too. Rian ordered daring maneuvers, splitting human forces to flank the enemy, forcing Zark ships to fight on multiple fronts. Pilots shouted over comms, reporting victories and losses. Some cried. Some laughed in relief at destroying a Zark ship. Humanity's fighting spirit was stronger than fear, and Rian felt a surge of pride. Then came a new challenge. Kirax's flagship unleashed a new weapon, a wave of energy that disrupted human ship systems within seconds. Pilots struggled to regain control, and Rian barked orders to counteract the disruption. Scientists at Titan Base transmitted emergency instructions on stabilizing shields and rerouting power. It was dangerous, risky, but necessary. Human ships responded, shields flickering, engines straining, but systems came back online. The first line held. Rian smiled grimly. Humanity was standing. The battle continued for hours, moving in waves. Every time the Zark pressed forward, humans adapted, using ancient Titan tech and modern ingenuity. They learned quickly, fought fiercely, and refused to retreat. The sky of space was filled with light and fire, metal and energy, screams and warnings. Then, Rian made a critical decision. Target Kirax directly. Use coordinated torpedoes and ion strikes. Focus everything we have on the flagship. Officers hesitated for a moment, knowing it was dangerous. If the plan failed, humanity could lose everything. But Rian's confidence was unwavering. Do it. Now. Ships fired in perfect synchronization. Torpedoes streaked across the void, striking Kirax's flagship from all sides. Ion beams pierced weak points discovered through Rian's careful analysis. The flagship shuddered, sparks and explosions running across its hull. Kirax screamed over comms, his anger echoing across space. Other Zark ships wavered as the flagship lost stability. Humanity pressed the advantage, firing relentlessly. Finally, after a long, harrowing fight, Kirax's flagship exploded in a massive flash of red and black energy. The remaining Zark ships, leaderless and demoralized, retreated into the darkness of space. The battlefield fell silent. Rian stood on the bridge, breathing heavily. Human ships were damaged, some destroyed, but humanity had survived. The cost had been high, but the enemy had been defeated. Across the solar system, cheers erupted from fleets, colonies, and Earth. Humanity had faced the Zark and won. Commander Rian looked out at the stars, knowing this victory was only the beginning. Humanity had awakened, stronger and wiser, ready to protect its future. The Zark had returned, and they had been repelled. Humanity's era of strength had truly begun. The battle was over, and silence settled across the solar system like a blanket, heavy but peaceful. Commander Rian stood on the bridge of the flagship Aurora, looking out at the stars that had once seemed so empty and dangerous, now glimmering with the promise of a future humanity had fought so hard to protect. The Zark threat had been defeated, but the cost was clear. Colonies were destroyed, fleets had been shattered, and countless lives had been lost. Yet, humanity had survived, and with that survival came a new sense of purpose and unity. Across Earth and its colonies, people began to rebuild immediately, working tirelessly to restore homes, repair fleets, and recover from the trauma of war. Engineers and scientists collaborated to improve old Titan technology, combining ancient knowledge with modern innovation. Every new ship, every new weapon, every recovered colony became a symbol of humanity's determination not to be weak again. Rian traveled between stations and planets, speaking to leaders, soldiers, and civilians. He encouraged cooperation and unity, reminding everyone that the victories were not just the result of weapons and strategy, but the courage and resilience of every human being. "We have survived because we refused to give up," he said. "We have survived because we fought together, because we remembered our past, and because we refused to ignore warnings. We are stronger than any enemy who dares to challenge us." Across the galaxy, humanity's reputation began to change. Stories of the battle against the Zark spread to distant systems. Allies who had once been distant and neutral now offered aid, knowledge, and support. Some civilizations that had feared humanity now approached with respect, knowing that humans were a force not to be underestimated. Yet Rian knew that vigilance was necessary. The Zark Dominion may have been defeated, but remnants of their fleet survived, scattered across deep space. And new enemies, lurking in the dark corners of the galaxy, had surely observed humanity's rise. "We cannot become complacent," Rian said during a council meeting on the rebuilt Earth Command Station. "We must continue to strengthen our defenses, train our fleets, and prepare for any threat that may come. Humanity has been given a second chance. We must not waste it." The council agreed, and plans were set in motion to expand fleets, rebuild colonies, and establish a network of advanced sensor arrays across the galaxy. New academies were created to train pilots and strategists, teaching them both modern tactics and ancient Titan techniques. Education became a priority, and humans of all ages studied history, technology, and strategy to ensure that the lessons of the past would never be forgotten. Meanwhile, memorials were built for the fallen, monuments on Earth, Arcadia, and other destroyed colonies. Names were etched into stone, and the stories of those who sacrificed everything to protect humanity were told to every generation. Rian often visited these memorials, standing silently and reflecting on the cost of survival. The people he met, however, always reminded him that hope had not died. Children played among ruins that had been repaired, laughing and learning about the stars. Colonists planted new trees, rebuilt homes, and celebrated festivals for the first time in years. Humanity had endured darkness and emerged into light. Rian also oversaw the integration of new technology recovered from the battlefield and Titan base. Ancient weapons were carefully studied, improved, and repurposed to strengthen defenses without repeating the mistakes of the past. Scientists worked alongside military officers to ensure that every tool was used wisely, ethically, and efficiently. Across the solar system, humans began exploring again, cautiously at first, but with renewed confidence. Ships carried diplomats, explorers, and scientists to neighboring systems, seeking alliances and knowledge. Humanity's presence in space was no longer timid, it was determined, bold, and unafraid. One evening, as Rian gazed at the stars from the observation deck of Earth Command, he thought about the journey humanity had traveled, from ignorance and weakness to awareness and strength. He remembered the warnings, the battles, the sacrifices, and the courage of countless people who had refused to give up. Humanity had learned to fight, to survive, and to rise above fear. And in that moment, Rian felt hope, not just for survival, but for a future where humans could thrive among the stars. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, but humanity had discovered something stronger than fear or death: unity, courage, and the will to endure. Rian smiled, knowing that the future was no longer something to be feared. It was something to be built, something to protect, and something to fight for if necessary. Humanity had faced annihilation and emerged victorious. And now, as the suns of Earth and its colonies shone across the galaxy, a new dawn had begun. Humanity was no longer weak. Humanity was no longer afraid. Humanity had awakened. And the stars, once silent witnesses to fear and destruction, now watched a species that had proven it could rise, fight, and claim its place among them. Commander Rian turned to his officers, his eyes bright with determination. "We survived the darkness," he said. "Now we will light the galaxy with humanity's strength. The war is over, but the journey has just begun."